Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. It is our weekly look at the best new comics of the week. Mike, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I got my little short stack of stuff that I picked up this week. They're all Flash, no, except for Blade Runner.
Hmm.
But I have to get caught up on Flash. I've been slacking on Flash for like 3 weeks, a
Yeah.
month maybe, and so
No, not much to catch up on there. Hopefully, Absolute Flash should give you some enjoyment. The main Flash series, we're getting Mark Waid on it, so hopefully that'll make it good again. But that book had been pretty rough with Cy Spurrier.
I know I haven't mentioned it on the last few. uh, you know. But I do like the Absolute Flash. I'm a few issues behind though. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, really, really small stack of this. And really the one I want to spend the bulk of our time talking about today is just probably the most notable comic that came out this week. There are, well, I'll highlight the good first before we dive into that one, and then I know you want to talk Blade Runner as well. So I will say, Ultimate Wolverine number 10. The art was not my favorite, but this had some really cool and sort of brutal fights between Wolverine and Omega Red. This has been the best Wolverine comic book in years. Wolverine acts like Wolverine, and it's so weird that we're getting it in a universe that's all messed up, and that he was the Winter Soldier, and that Colossus is a terrorist villain. But he actually feels like Logan, even though Sabretooth's way off in it. This was a really good comic. I would recommend it for folks. I think if you miss Wolverine acting like he used to, this is the closest you're going to get. Sadly, with Marvel, it seems like we're wrapping up the Ultimate Universe for some reason. So I don't know how many more issues we have, but I think if you're a Wolverine fan who's lapsed, you'll probably enjoy that one. Other one I'll highlight real quick: Spider-Man Noir number one. They relaunched this. I believe it's Eric Larson, who's been at Image forever, who actually ends up writing this one. Really good, fun comic set in 1939. You get Gwen Stacy kind of showing up as like the femme fatale kind of role in this one. I'm not real familiar with how Spider-Man noir stories have been in the past. I'll be honest, I think I read those a long time ago, but I think it's Eric Larson and Andrea Ricardo. That's really good art, really fun, pre-war kind of stuff that's in there. A lot of adventure. Really cool to see Gwen Stacy as like the classic femme fatale kind of thing that's in there. I thought it was really enjoyable. I would recommend that one, folks. I think if you want something that's way different, that's worth checking out. And if there was a book of the week, Rook Exodus is back. Mike, you and I both loved this series. Jason Fabok's art is fantastic. I will say, I think this is the weakest issue of Rook Exodus that's been out there. I thought the first six were all better. This was just weirdly paced, but the book looks so dang good that I think if you just like comic book art, I mean, Jason Fabok is just killing it on this book with so much
Oh,
detail
wow. Yeah.
background. There's another shot here I'll try to bring up where they kind of just have some of these characters and he does a two-page spread, and it's just he's such a good artist. He gets some new character designs and things like that. This whole
Love
world,
it.
these wardens and avatars, and all it's really interesting. I do think that's a good book to pick up. So those are the three that I would tell you if you want a good comic, you want a good time, pick up those. Normally, we try to just spend the majority of the time on this talking about the best new comics. But Mike, I wanted to talk to you about this issue here, Batman number two. And as always with comic books,
A little bit of a controversy on this
a little
one.
bit of a controversy. And I'll say this: I normally don't watch a ton of comic book content. I had a really long drive from where I was this week, so I had about 2-3 hours in the car the day this came out. And I'm gonna be honest, I read this book. I thought that's a decent issue of Batman. Like I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was awful. It seemed very Batman standard fare. I think miles better than what we were getting from Chip Zdarsky at the end. But then I started seeing some video reactions to this from certain channels, and I try to balance things where I watch both positive and negative. And I just have a question that I think, Mike, we need to dive into with some of this. So in this book, to kind of give a little bit of recap, um, Robin is confronting a criminal. Robin stops a criminal who is involved in the murder of somebody. They do, modern DC things where they try to make the criminal sympathetic, and that the guy was just trying to steal baby formula, and somehow, a guy got killed as a result of that. Robin still knocks him out. However, the GCPD shows up. Misunderstanding, Robin ends up getting shot. They don't take Robin for medical treatment. They throw him in the back of a van, people expecting that he'll get the crap beat out of him. Batman shows up, rescues Robin out of the back of the cop car. The cops kind of confront each other. One cop's kind of good, one cop's kind of bad. A couple of them they end up shooting each other. And at the end, Vandal Savage uses this as an opportunity to frame Batman and Robin for the murders. Um, Now, I read that that's pretty standard fare. And that, look, the GCPD has never been an actual reflection of like a real world opinion on police, in my opinion. Now,
Okay.
I know police are controversial for some folks. I'm not going to get into how you should or shouldn't feel about cops. Personally, I think what they do is a valuable service, and I have family members who are, so I respect it. But I get it. There's all kinds of controversy with it. My question is this on this, because I saw people breaking it down. Well, if you look at police procedure, Batman is a criminal for breaking Robin out of there. He should have called for, and so I see a lot of corners of the internet that are normally calling for comics to be escapism, who are
Yeah.
now mad that Batman didn't follow real world procedures and treat the police with the proper respect that a regular person should. And it's where Mike and this is where I think it is. We have to pick what we want. Do you want realism in comics or do you want escapism? Because here's the thing: one of the classic Batman stories of all time is Batman Year One. He pummels how many cops in that comic,
A
in their
lot.
escaping. So, Mike, do you think this just is people can't pick what they want? Do you think it's just they don't? And I know Matt Fraction, the writer of this, is a very not a controversial writer, or not a beloved writer. Do you think part of this is they're just going to pick any way they can, even if it contradicts or things like where do you fall on all this? Because we hear so often that comics should just be escapism, and then from those same corners, when something like this happens, they're calling for realism. How does that hit you as a fan? And maybe too long winded from me there, but what are your thoughts?
Um, I am on the side of escapism. I love my comics to take me away from the real world. I like them to have a shadowy semblance to reality. So, well, sometimes I like the completely absurd as well. But it's fiction, it's fantasy. You can't get bogged down in the details in some of these. You drive yourself crazy. Like case in point, continuity. It's like, what are you gonna do? So, as far as the cop thing, I do think this story is, Batman standard Batman fare, like you said. But I also think that anybody will find any reason to pick a fight with comic books because the more you say it's terrible, the more clicks you're going to get. And it's so sad. I mean, it's one of the premises that we started this channel in the beginning is to make sure that we always covered the good stuff because, hey, we're still buying comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be willing to bet that 80% of the people that clicked one way or the other on those videos didn't even buy the comic. And so it's like, come on, guys. If you didn't even read it for yourself, why do you got to jump in the fray and click here and click there and take the bait? Um, be real, buy your comics, read your comics, love your comics, hate your comics. If you bought a comic you didn't like it, you can hate on it. But anyway, I think for me, it's all about the escapism because, like you and I have always said, I mean, we work in the real world, we live in the real world, we have stressful jobs, and life throws curveballs at us, and we need our escape, and this is our little corner of fun. And don't take that away from me.
Yeah, I agree with you in that I think, look, indie comics, if an indie comic wants to deal with the realities of policing and things like that, then that comic will typically be sold with that as its bend. And
Yeah,
people going into that book will understand, hey, this is what this aim of this is. With Batman, what's so interesting is, like you said,
we're talking about Batman. He's a
escapism
guy who wears his underwear, his long underwear, throws
on
on a
the
cape,
side and dresses like a bat.
and he jumps around on rooftops in a fictional city and tries to catch bad guys. We're not talking about reality here.
Well, and this is where I saw, and it was, I mean, I'm not calling out any one particular person because this was four or five of these types of channels. breaking down like, well, Batman should have done this or that. Okay, one, guys, if we're gonna get into Batman respecting the police, and again, I think Batman should get along with the cops. I think Batman has a good friend in Commissioner Gordon, but the balance has always been there's a few cops in the GCPD, Bullock, Montoya, Gordon, that Bruce Wayne, Batman, gets along with and works with and tries to respect. At the same time, the mere idea of Batman existing violates police tenets. He would, by his very existence, be a person who would be hunted. And so
Yeah.
what's so weird about this whole thing is it's just so frustrating when it's from people who are always calling for let it be escapism, let it be escapism, let it be escapism. And then you have a comic where Batman fights the GCPD, who's always been a corrupt police department in every iteration of Batman media, period. And like, well, that's not proper police procedure. Batman shouldn't have broken Robin out of the
When
back of
did
that.
GCPD
He should.
ever follow the
It's like,
rules? They're always crooked and
and
dirty.
it's the same thing where, because I saw people, well, of course, it's an anti-policing message because they show the cops being corrupt. It's Gotham. It's the GCPD. No duh. Like, and this is where, Mike, this is where the internet gets frustrating. And I know sometimes you and I get mad about things. And so I'm not saying we're above this, right? We've had our videos, me and you, especially me. Fantastic Four, I was super negative on it before it came out. I jumped into all the predictable avenues that people were saying, and I was wrong. That movie did not have the things wrong
I
other than the female
know.
Silver Surfer that I thought it would.
Right.
But what is so frustrating about this, it is as me and you, as comic book fans, I think the most frustrating thing that exists in media today, it doesn't feel like comics are actually covered by people who like comics. If
It
because
does feel like that.
what makes me so mad with this is by the definition of this comic. If you thought that what Batman did crossed the line in this, and again, I'm not saying this is a great comic, it wasn't. But by that definition, then you have to hate year one. You have to hate year one. You have to think Batman year one, he's too far and he should be hunted by the police then. Because that's just as much. And I think that's the part that's frustrating now is we do not have as good a comics as we had in the 90s. We do not have as good a comics as we had in the 80s for sure. But we also, I think if you re-release those things from the 80s now and they've never been released and you put them out now, the same people complaining about this stuff would rip Batman Year One, they'd rip Watchmen, they'd rip every one of these things that we hold up as a classic and call it, oh, it's pandering and it's just again, and that's the part that's really frustrating with this. Like there are some awful comic books that exist nowadays. Terrible comic books that have done horrible things to characters that are poorly written. But when you start to conflate stuff like this with those ones, that's where you lose trust. That's where you get people where they just go, I'm checking out on the comic book industry. And as people who love comics and want to succeed, I'm not telling you comics are great. But man, it sucks when we have like so many people who like just I'm gonna find whatever avenue I can to make it seems like this sucks. And so I would be interested though if you think that I'm wrong on this, if you think that we're wrong on this, let us know. Right, we're just two guys giving our opinions. So just if you think if it did hit you a certain way, and again, like if you're someone who's had if you are a police officer or something like that, and you thought it was a poor representation, then that's different, right? That's a real world thing, and that might hit you differently. But I think for Batman fans, this was pretty standard fare. Mike, I'll let you close this out on a happy note because you're the
I'm
biggest
excited.
Runner fan I know, and Titan it's been what 5 or 6 years they've been giving you Blade Runner comics, or is it longer than that?
2019,
2019. So
years.
yeah, you're 6 years. Um, so I'm just gonna let you go through what you loved about this one, go through where it's at. We haven't mentioned Blade Runner comics much, but I know these ones always get you in the store. So I'm turning it to you to close us out on a high note, my friend. Walk us through what's
Well,
going on with Blade Runner.
well, Titan is this is the new one from Titan. It's Black Lotus. This one was developed after the anime short film that was made a couple years ago. They did the film first, and then they did the comic, and the comic was great. This character Ellie is she is of course a replicant, one of the synthetic people. She was, of course, designed to be an assassin, as like they, inevitably do. They're either Blade Runners or assassins, right?
Hmm.
Um, some of these main characters. But Ellie, this is the second series of hers. The first one was her escaping from Los Angeles and then, confronting her maker, which they all tend to do at one point or another, which is always fascinating. But this series, this has her going into the desert. She's still on the run because, um, her maker is after her, and Neander Wallace is trying to hunt her down. And so, you just get beautiful panels. Like, look at this first panel that just breathe like the Blade Runner film that we all love from 1982. That's what I love about these is that, you get this artwork that kind of gives you the noir kind of feel that the Blade Runner movie had. It's just amazing. Of course, the concept by Philip K. Dick, um, the great sci-fi author that Blade Runner was developed from, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, that famous book of his. But this world that they've developed and these comic creators that they're working with are finding new ways to bring us Blade Runner type entertainment. Previously, there was uh, before this there was, I can't think of it, Tokyo Nexus, where they had the replicants in Tokyo, and that was fun. But this comic here is really really good. It sets Ellie up. She's running from Neander Wallace. She's out in the desert, and she ends up going to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is an irradiated zone in this world. Like there's been some nuclear radiation going on there. So it's deserted. But guess what? It is inhabited by replicants. And these are the replicants that used to work at the casinos in this world. So they're characterized like this one from Egypt in the Luxor pyramid. And it promises to be really good fun. When I was at Comic-Con this year and went to the panel, the Blade Runner panel, they were talking about how this story is going to be really interesting, where the replicants that survived, of course, because they're replicants, they live in this irradiated wasteland of Las Vegas, and they all have the themes of the hotels that they used to work at. And
Hmm.
so they have these little cliques, and apparently there's going to be some infighting that's going on there. And in walks our protagonist, Ellie, the assassin looking for refuge and escape from Wallace Neander. And the thugs that they put together to go after her, are crazy. So you also get this wonderful stuff where she's on one of the motorcycle things that, kind of float and also drive on the ground like the famous cars of Blade Runner did.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good fun. It's good, good fun.
No, it's really cool. I'm glad that one came back. I know that's always your most I know you love Conan, but I know that's always your most anticipated comics when they give you a good Blade Runner series. So good to see that come out for you.
Yeah.
Be curious to know if there's any other Blade Runner fans down below who have checked that one out. That'll wrap it for this week, folks. A little unconventional, but not the best week of new comics. Hopefully, check those out. If there's something we missed, let us know. Certainly, would be interested in your thoughts on Blade Runner and on Batman #2 if you have any. As always, folks, thank you for watching. Probably will be a little bit of a slow week. Mike and I but we're both really going through it at work, so you might not see as many videos this next week. We'll be right back at it when we can. But thanks as always for watching. God bless you. We'll catch you in our next video.
Thanks, everybody.